We are ready to start our second round of our renewable energy event. Thank you again for attending today. So in this room, we'll talk about the green hydrogen energy in Brazil. If you are interested in other country, please refer to the link we presented in the chat, and you can just go to the other room. So starting introducing our guest today, I'd like to start with Marcio Oliveira. Marcio Oliveira has been working for more than 20 years in gases business, being responsible for new business development in all industrial areas as pulp and paper, steel mills, chemical and petrochemical for on-site business. Please, Marcio Oliveira, be our guest to start with your presentation.
Hi, Rafael. Hi, Alessandro. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for the time and for the opportunity. So, if you can please put the presentation. I would say that the idea for the presentation and this discussion is to get to three, let's say, moments. The first one, a little bit some information about Messer, the microeconomics of Brazil, very high level. A second moment, the Brazil electricity matrix, which is a leverage of Brazil nowadays. And a third one about market opportunities. So the idea here is to try to answer the question how to generate the market. Okay, how can we let's say generate this market for green hydrogen? Okay, and that's very important information. So please, if you can go for the next slide. A general idea about Messer. We are, a family company presenting in several countries around the world. We are serving all the gases that you can imagine, okay? And mainly in the markets of industrial market, healthcare, and others. And specifically about hydrogen, we have a very strong position here down in Brazil in acting in all the supply chain of hydrogen. We produce, we buy, we sell, we transport. So we are deep involved on this market. And you can see in the bottom, in the right where we are present. Where we are in most of the states of Brazil, mainly in the southeast and south, where we have more, let's say, our industry is more developed, but we also have we are present in the northeast. So that's our presence, producing hydrogen and distributing around Brazil. Specifically about some macroeconomics, of course, when we talk about Brazil, always we are talking about a picture, and the picture can change every moment. Okay, we know that, but that's what we are working with. We expect about maybe close to 6% or 5% GDP growth, mainly because 2020, because of pandemics, we had a very low baseline. So the expectation is to grow about 5%, and for the other years to remain about 2%, 2.5%, which has been our average in the last years. Exchange rate keeps something between 5 Brazilian reais per USD. It's important to mention that next year we have our elections, and this for sure is going to impact on several macroeconomics indicators and exchange rate also for sure. So 2022, it's a challenging year for we here in Brazil. So basically we are a developing country, and we know that, but we have a lot of potential on this. So please, the next slide, Rafael. And one of the main advantages that we have, it's about our electricity matrix. We are pretty green, I would say. If we think that 85% more or less of our electricity generation matrix, it's green. So it's hydro. Hydro is the most one, as you can see. But you can see also that in the last years, because some subsidies, solar and wind power has been increasing a lot. And when we see the plan for the coming years about EPE, it's our Energy Research Office that belongs to the Energy Ministry. We see that we are going to keep high in terms of green energy, and which means basically about 46 new gigawatts that it's forecast to come, and this will remain being green. So you can see that solar and wind, it's gonna have a higher, a bigger size of the pizza, so that you can see in the graph. So that's a big leverage, an advantage, a competitive edge that we have. We are a big country that we have a lot of wind and solar in some areas of the country during all the year. So that's our big advantage. So we are talking about the raw material for the green hydrogen, you know. So that's something that's important to mention. The next slide, please. Another important information, one click more, Rafael, please. Thank you. Is that you can, yeah, thank you. You can see that also, as already mentioned by our colleagues in the previous speech, is that in the last 10 years, the cost of solar and onshore and / offshore wind, they decreased dramatically. I mean, definitely, this kind of energy is in the game. It's not now only a matter to say that it's cool because it's clean and save the environment, because this is the most important for sure, but also it's economically feasible. So that's something that changed, and this because, of course, the technology that has been improving a lot, economy of scale, and all these let's say advantages. So this is the new moment for the renewable energy as solar and wind mainly. Okay. Next slide, please. When we talk about market opportunities, and that's important because I mean hydrogen has been there for a lot of years. I mean that's not a new development. We know that nowadays we have electrolyzers to several other applications, and in some of them, hydrogen is also a byproduct. But now it's a game changer because we are talking about really to produce hydrogen as a new way of energy for the future. So we have here some examples that I would like to share with you guys. This is in transport. Okay, we have since 2011 supplying, and we have a robust, let's say, system in supply hydrogen for buses in California. This is for Master in US. Also for specific usage in forklifts that we have in US also. So I mean that's a big let's say opportunity if we think about how much fossil fuels we use for this activity around the world. We see the big let's say opportunity that we have to replace, and that's a technology that's already I mean known, and I think that the change with the Paris let's say agreement, that's the burning platform to move forward to this. So we are here, we serve, and we are prepared to develop it. When we go for another schemes, I would like to give some examples that what we are doing. And so please, Rafael, the next slide. This is an example that we are doing an on-site scheme that you can see where we have an integrated hub where we have the feed power, which must be green power, of course, and we have electrolyzer. We manage it, we produce, and we have some interesting, let's say, outcomes of these systems. We have the hydrogen that we can serve. We also have the oxygen due to the electrolysis process. That it's another gas that can be supplied, depend on where you are using this system. Also, you have heat that the system generates that can use to produce steam, or that's a thermal energy that we can use for other purposes. So I mean, this concept that we have here, it's a more robust one. I mean, we are here talking about a large scale, okay, that we can serve refineries, pulp mills, steel works, or some complex. That's a fit that can be easily made, and we are working on this. And bringing some additional light to this, please, the next slide, Rafael. Here another, I mean, trying to bring some light and some more details on this. So you can see here that we have, okay, the green power in the feed. We have the electrolyzer, as I mentioned, and some options, okay, that we can have here. Again, as I said, we can serve the hydrogen through pipeline from an on-site customer. Can be, for instance, a petrochemical company that uses hydrogen to do the desulfurization of the fuel. Can be, of course, a company that produces ammonia for fertilizers, or urea. I mean, a broad of different applications. But also can be a second, let's say, a second path for a filling station, for, as I mentioned before, for truck, forklift, buses, mining. That's also possible, and I'm going to go a little bit more in detail on this one. And of course, the oxygen as a consequence that can go for a pipeline, for a steel mill, for a blast furnace, for heaters. So I mean, that's another possibility. And lastly, when we talk about trucks, forklifts, a big challenge for hydrogen is how to transport it. We know that green ammonia can be a way to do that. And also liquefying the hydrogen is another possibility. Of course, economics plays the trade-off in this process. But the point here is that just to give you an idea, in Brazil nowadays, we only have been transporting hydrogen through tube trailers. So as you can see in the bottom, the left, more or less we are talking about 5,000 cubic meters in 200 bar pressure. Just to give you an idea, we are talking about 350, 400 kilos of hydrogen. So if you think that we have a trailer that the weight is about 50 tons, basically we are transporting steel, you know, because we have a trailer of 50 tons that's transporting 350, 400 kilos of hydrogen. That's a big, let's say, challenge economically to move the hydrogen. But the future that we have already operation in Canada and US, I'm talking about Messer, and also in Europe, is that if we liquefy the hydrogen, we can transport over 40,000 cubic meters. We are talking about 3.5, 4 tons in one trailer of hydrogen. So I mean, we transport like 8, 9 times more in liquid than gas, and that make a huge difference economically, and make possible transport and enhance other applications for hydrogen. Because I think, finishing my speech, that's our main challenge. I mean, we know that we have the appetizer and we need to move, but think about the companies and who is in the market. We need to leverage and we need to generate the market, moving from gray or other colors of hydrogen to green hydrogen. So that's our challenge, and we are here to make part of the solution. So I hope I could bring some light about the discussion and this very, let's say, amazing and exciting topic. So I'm sure that Alessandro, my buddy, is gonna bring more light and bring more information about this. So Thank you for the opportunity, Rafael. You are on mute, Rafael. Or we can't listen.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, now I can hear, right? Okay. So thank you very much, Marcio, for your interesting insights during the presentation. It was really nice to understand better what you are doing here in the area. So thanks. It was very interesting. We already have a few questions from the audience, but we'll run after the speech also of Alessandro. By the way, I'd like to encourage all the audience here to write questions in the questions feature that you can see in your panel. Then we can address to both Marcio and Alessandro after the end of this presentation. We would also would like to point out that if you want, you can also open your camera and microphone after the presentations to be even more interactive. But feel free to use either the questions feature or the open your camera and microphone to do directly your question to the panelists. So it's time to hand over to Alessandro Colucci. Alessandro Colucci is graduated in Business Administration and Regional Studies on Latin America at the University of Cologne, Germany, and has over 12 years of experience at the VDMA, German Engineering Federation, where he worked at the VDMA Mining Sector Chamber. He moved to Brazil in January 2016 in order to establish the Competence Center on Mining and Raw Materials at the German-Brazilian Chamber of Commerce and Industry of São Paulo. The Competence Center is a project supported by the German Ministry of Economy and Energy, GMWI. In April 2021, he was appointed Director of the Market Entry and Business Development Department of the Chamber. So, Alessandro, thank you for being here today with us, and we are looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Rafael, for this invitation and for your introduction. And thank you also, Marcio, for your presentation, because it shows something very important for us, for all of us to know. The technology we are talking about that is needed for this transformation is already there. There's not many new things that would have to be developed or invented in order to make this new green hydrogen economy work. What is missing right now is that we don't have a stimulus, because we still have a delta between the price for the production of gray hydrogen, which is like here, and green hydrogen, which is here. And everywhere in the world, when we talk about projects, green hydrogen projects, we have to say, yeah, there are some ideas, there are some memorandum of understandings, there are some drawings, there's a lot of talk, but they are all eagerly waiting for signals. And those signals, they are coming. The German government was developing its new hydrogen program, and they are now really seriously working on this new green recovery, like all the other countries of the European Union. And they have seen that if Germany wants to really fulfill the rules of the Paris Climate Agreement, it is not enough to have a stronger percentage of renewable energy in the own energy matrix. Germany will need to import green hydrogen. It will only be able to produce around 10% of its own green hydrogen. And the new concept is heavily relying on international cooperation. And one of the countries which is really suited to be such a cooperation partner is Brazil, because of several reasons that we will see. The good news is that we have had the foundation of the Green Hydrogen Agency a couple of weeks ago in Germany. And rumors say that by the end of the year, we are going to have the first auction of long-term green hydrogen purchase. So this would be a very interesting signal for not only the German economy, but also for potential suppliers all over the world. So this is just a forward before we start with the presentation itself, because it's important to say, if we talk about green hydrogen, we are not talking about rocket science, because the electrolysis technology is already there for decades. What we need to know is how are the incentives, and there are incentives on the German side in the sense that there's going to be a shrinking subsidy, which subsidizes the difference between the price of gray hydrogen and green hydrogen. And the hope is that by setting up new capacities all over the world, in the long run, those prices will go down. So this is what the German government is betting on, that it's going to have this incentive, giving a market signal to all the producers all over the world. Hey, we are buying, we are committed long term, and all over the years, the hope, and it's a founded hope, is that the price for green hydrogen will go down because capacities all over the world will be going up. And this is how we can start now with the presentation itself. Who is going to move it? Is it Rafael? So next slide, please, Rafael. Thank you. Oh, I see that some of the symbols are not supported. Okay, this is a short overview of what I'm going to talk about. We can skip this. The next one, please. Thank you. Well, Marcio has already mentioned that Brazil traditionally has a very high percentage of renewable energies in its mix. We are around 83–84% of renewables in the matrix for electrical energy production. And some tenders have resulted in prices of $35 per megawatt hour and even less. So it's extremely competitive. The current potential to produce green hydrogen by experts is estimated to be around $2.5 to $3 per kilogram. And as I said, it is expected that as soon as we are going to see new plants, this price is going to go down. And I'm extending a little bit the scope of this presentation, and I want to talk also about biogas, because Brazil is a potential biogas giant. If you see that only in the southeastern and central western part of Brazil, biomass was the source for the production of 22 terawatt hours of electricity. Next slide, please. Thank you. Brazil is the biggest producer of sugarcane. 45% of the global demand are from Brazil. And it's the second biggest exporter of alcohol based on sugarcane. And we have here a potential to produce biogas around 57.6 million cubic meters per day. That could be transformed into biogas if you only take the surplus which is left over from the sugarcane production. And we also have a strong agricultural sector in general. So if you look at the production of meat and skins, for instance, you have 4 million tons of waste per year, and they also could be transformed into biogas. So that's another 35.3 million cubic meters. And then we have a small percentage of the wastewater treatment plants with a potential of 6.1 million cubic meters per day. And there's still a lot to do. If you compare Brazil with Germany, in Germany we have around, I think, 900, close to 1,000 biomass plants. And in Brazil we had in 2019 533. If you compare the size of both countries and the importance of agriculture in Brazil, you can easily see that there is a huge potential to install new biogas plants in this country. Biofuels also can be produced used to produce green hydrogen. And on the left-hand side, you can see the biomethane production, which is currently going on. So we see the same ingredients. We see blue, which is the input factor coming from the sugarcane industry. Orange is other agricultural inputs, and sanitation is this turkey-colored thin slice. Next slide, please. Yeah, the chemical industry in Brazil is important. It's one of the 10 biggest chemical industries in the world. It's the source of 10% of Brazil's industrial GDP and indirectly creates 2.5 million jobs. And the chemical industry produces the ethanol, which comes mainly from sugarcane. According to the law, 25 to 27% of gasoline has to be, there has to be an addition of 25 to 27% of alcohol in the gasoline. So in Brazil, when you look at the personal vehicles, at the light cars, you can see cars which have either an alcohol motor or a flex fuel motor. This is already a traditional contribution of Brazil since the 1970s to reduce its dependency on the import of petroleum from the OPEC countries, which is a reflex of the first or second oil crisis that the whole world suffered in the 1970s. And again, if you look at the production of biomethanol or synthetic methanol, that can be produced with green hydrogen and CO2. You can also substitute diesel, which would be also interesting later on if you think about light planes. So you could even produce kerosene for planes. So there is a whole value chain that you can produce based on what the agribusiness sector in Brazil has to offer. Next slide, please. This is just an example of what it means to substitute just a little part of gray hydrogen with green hydrogen. Why do we need hydrogen, by the way, in Brazil? It's mainly used as a purifier in the refineries to produce gasoline and other fuels. And it's used in order to produce ammonia, which is an important fertilizer for the agricultural sector. So if you want to substitute only 3% of this consumption, so we're talking about 3.78 million cubic meters of hydrogen. So this is the energy that you need. You need 18.9 gigawatt hours per year in order to make this electrolysis running. So this is a huge undertaking. But it's also in the interest of the Brazilian industry, because Brazil has a big advantage compared to other countries that are set to be competitors in the green hydrogen run. First of all, it's huge diversity in renewable energies, and second, it's not only an exporting country. It will need green hydrogen for its own use. So there's a double incentive for the industry, because the multinational companies that are installed in Brazil, like mining companies, like steel makers, and so on, they will be forced to reduce their CO2 imprint. So those investments, they will come sooner or later because of regulation, because of international reputation, and because of regulation of the international stock exchanges where those shares are traded. So this is just to sum it up. Next slide, please. Mining industry. Well, I have this history of working in the mining industry, and we just wanted to give you an example of one company, Anglo American, a British company, one of the big elephants, big majors. Anglo American has very ambitious goals worldwide to be one of the first big mining majors to be totally green, to have a zero carbon footprint. They want to achieve this in Brazil by next year. And one of the important steps they did take to achieve this was to buy a share in a wind development project of a company called Casa dos Ventos. They invested 370 million euros. And this electricity, which is going to be produced somewhere in the northeast of Brazil, is going to be transferred to the mining operations of Anglo American in several states. And one of the assumptions that we have is that Anglo American is going to use the excess energy that it's buying in order to make its own electrolysis work and to produce green hydrogen for its own truck fleet. which is something that they are already developing in other countries, like in South Africa, for instance. Okay, next slide, please. Very important, as I said right at the beginning, we are talking about green hydrogen like it's like it's something that is booming. It's not booming at all, because we are at the beginning. We are at the beginning even of the regulation activities. We had a meeting, we have witnessed a meeting of the Brazilian National Council for Energy Policy in April. And this was the official start signal in order to know which way Brazil is going to take in order to foster a green hydrogen value chain in terms of regulation, safety standards. Are there going to be subsidies? Are there going to be any form of support for research and development institutions, and of course for the industry? And we are eagerly awaiting the results that are due to be published by this week or next week. We are waiting for it. It's imminent. Next slide, please. This is an important portal that you should access if you want to know something more about green hydrogen in Brazil. This green hydrogen portal has been developed by our sister chamber in Rio de Janeiro, and is part of the projects that we are developing as the Green Hydrogen Alliance, which is the alliance that exists between the chamber in Rio and the chamber here in São Paulo. This is why I'm also using the Hidrogênio Verde logo in all of my slides. There you can find interesting news about what's going on in the hydrogen sector. Technically, what is going on in the fields of research and development, economy. You are going to receive information about important events, and you can register your company. There's also kind of a matchmaking tool that you can use in order to get in touch with other companies that are interested in this issue in Brazil. My colleague Bruno is going to organize an information event on July 22nd, which is in Portuguese. ABC do Hidrogênio Verde, so it's the ABC of the green hydrogen. Everything what you wanted to know about green hydrogen but you didn't dare to ask is going to be discussed during that event. There you can make your registration, it's for free. And we are going to have the German-Brazilian Hydrogen Congress on October 14, 15. The day has to be confirmed. It might be extended to one more day. But as soon, I think you should have a look in September or the end of August. It should be available on our website, and you can also make your registration. All this event as well is for free, and it's online. So next slide, please. That's about it. In a nutshell, this is my contacts at the chamber here in São Paulo. If you want to get in touch with me later on, it would be my pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. Very interesting presentation. It was also very interesting to know the upcoming events that you are preparing. Thank you for sharing this with us. We already have a few questions from few of the attendees. And again, I'd like to encourage all the attendees to send questions via the question feature. Or if you are interested in, you can just ask to open your camera and open your microphone. Just let us know. The idea here is really to be interactive from now on. So the first question we have here is to Marcio Oliveira. So the question is, what do you think are the main challenges for green hydrogen development growth in Brazil?
Okay, thank you, Rafael. Well, trying to put this in a simple way, I would maybe state in 2 bullets, and maybe we can discuss a little bit of each one. But it's as Alessandro mentioned, green hydrogen is more expensive than gray hydrogen or any other colors or any other ways of energy. I mean, that's the big I would say, challenge for green hydrogen. We know that we have the Paris Agreement. Global leaders recently, they met in England, and there is a lot of information on that. So, I mean, to make this wheel start to run more, it's about who is willing to start to make this paying, I would say, maybe like a toll, to start with this, because that's an important point. So we are sure that when we have a scale, of course, green hydrogen is going to be more competitive. And if you take an example of Brazil, we had something similar with wind and solar power, because some years ago, some decades ago, it was more expensive because of equipment, because of regulation, and etc. And there was a movement made by the government with some subsidies on this. And some years after, maybe 10 years or a little bit more, here we are. Maybe something between 10 and 20% of our matrix is from solar and wind. And nowadays, as I show in the IRENA information, that solar and wind are becoming cheaper and cheaper. So I mean, that's the point. So I would say that this is one challenge. And then another one, it's I would say maybe the other part or the other side. It's about linking the dots. It's about develop the green market. So I mean, we know that we can have a green hydrogen to produce a green ammonia for fertilizers, or green ammonia to be a way to export energy, maybe from Brazil to Germany. That's to Europe. That's the idea. We know that we can use hydrogen for transport, as mentioned before. So I mean, what I mean by create or develop this market is that we know that there is some market, but we know also that can be developed, and this market can grow even more. So I would summarize that these are the two main challenges. Of course, we can talk about regulation. We can talk about the political moment that we live here in Brazil specifically. So there are other, I would say, points to be considered. But I would say that the two bigger pillars, I would say that it's about the subsidies or how to pay to start to move this wheel and develop this market. I would say that these would be the main two challenges for green hydrogen development.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Marcio. Now I have another question is to Alessandro. The question is, does Brazil have a privileged partnership with Germany when compared with other countries with regard to green hydrogen?
Yeah, thank you, Rafael. This is indeed a question that we are hearing a lot of times. Companies asking us if there is any subsidy that they might receive from the German government, and the answer is no. There is a good relationship. There is a German-Brazilian energy partnership. So there are regular meetings between the MEME, the Brazilian Ministry of Energy and Mining, and the BMWE, which is the German Ministry of Economy and Energy. And there are a lot of programs going on between Germany and Brazil. One, for instance, is to better the energy efficiency of the Brazilian industry, which is actually supported by a program of the GIZ. The GIZ is the German branch of economic development. They have a big office in Brasilia, and we as the chamber in Sao Paulo are a partner. But when the time comes to decide from which country Germany is going to import its green hydrogen, at the end of the day, it's going to be the price. And Brazil is set to be to compete with other countries. There are so many countries that have been mentioned, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Mongolia, Chile, Australia, and maybe I've forgotten some of them. At the end of the day, there will be an auction. And if the price that Brazilian producers can offer for the green hydrogen or the ammonia, which is going to be probably the form in which it is going to be shipped with the tankers, then it's going to be bought. Brazil is in a good position because, as we all said, the energy matrix is good. We already have a high percentage of renewables. It's going to raise a little bit. And then there is also the advantage that once the ships are leaving the Brazilian ports and harbors, they're not going they are not driving through internationally disputed waters. There's no pirates. There's no canal that they have to go through where suddenly there's a ship stuck in the middle and then the international trade is disrupted. So those are some strategic aspects that Brazilians can use in their favor.
Thank you, Alessandro. We have another question here for you. The question is, when is Germany going to buy the first green hydrogen from Brazil? Very specific.
I don't know. As I said, we heard from the German ministry that they are ambitiously trying to be operational with this new agency by the end of the year. So we expect that the first auction is going to take place before Christmas. And then it's going to, we have to touch wood, hoping that Brazil is going to be one of the players. I touched wood.
Great, thank you. We have one more question here now, if it's to Marcio. So Marcio, how is Brazil positioned for green hydrogen? What are the main leverages Brazil has?
Okay, no, good question. I would put in these words, I would say, first, as we repeated several times here, we have the main, we have the raw material to produce the green hydrogen, which is the green power. Okay, so 85% of our matrix, our electricity matrix is green. So that's a big advantage. In other words, we have a lot of and good available natural resource that we can use, and if we compare this with other areas of the globe, we see that the privilege that we have is quite big here in Brazil. Another thing that I think it's very interesting about Brazil is that, and that's specific to us, that we have been developing our transmission and distribution, let's say, infrastructure in the last year. So all the system is connected. So if we have a wind farm or a solar farm in Rio Grande do Norte, it's a state very in the north, amazing, beautiful, with amazing beaches, and and we have a lot of sun there. The system is connected, and you can use this energy in Porto Alegre, in Rio Grande do Sul. So it seems that this is obvious. I would say, well, maybe not, because we don't have this in all the countries around the world, because the systems are not connected. We have a lot of connect, but in Brazil we have this specificity. This connection. I would say that this is a big advantage. You can buy a green energy in a place that we don't have this, and say, I'm using this green energy. I think this is another advantage. And the last one that I would mention, it's about what Alessandro had mentioned about we have the biogas, we have the ethanol production from sugarcane. Now Brazil is producing more and more ethanol from corn that it was not used to be the best in Brazil. So we have, let's say, ethanol production all the months of the year with the corn, which is different from sugarcane. So we see the movement here in Brazil about landfills that are starting to produce biomethane, and we are developing this, and people are deciding if they are going to put the biogas in the grid, or if in the gas and pipeline, or if they are gonna, let's say, burn this and produce energy and put this in the grid. So I would say that we have a very nice momentum here in Brazil, and there is a very nice match between what's going on here in Brazil and what's going on in the world with the burning platform that we have. So I think that's momentum, and we just can't lose this momentum. So we are here to make this happen. And Alessandro, as a facilitator, we as master in the market, in the hydrogen market, as a gas company. So we are here to work on this. So I think that's the main, let's say, leverage that we have for green hydrogen in Brazil.
Thank you, Marcio. Very interesting, your points. Also, I agree with you regarding the connection, the connection of the grid here in Brazil, as we are an emerging country, and also we have, let's say, continental dimensions. So it's not that obvious that we should have these interconnections in the grid. So this is definitely a strong point to doing business in Brazil. Thanks a lot. I think we don't have any further questions here. So if you are attending to this event today, please, if you think in another questions after this event, feel free to reach us, to reach us at Rödl Partner or Marcio or Alessandro. We will be very happy to answer any kind of questions you may have. I would like to say thank you all of the attendees that entered today in our event, and also to Marcio and Alessandro. Really interesting what you shared with us, and it was. I'm sure that everyone here is taking away a lot of new knowledge about the country, and thank you again. So
thank you. I have to say goodbye because I really have a hard stop. I have to be in another meeting. Actually, I'm already late. So I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you, Rödl and Partner, for organizing this event. Thank you, Marcio, for your participation. And I have to say goodbye and leave this meeting. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. We are finishing anyway. So thank you, everyone. It was a great pleasure being here with you today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.